Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, claimed to access hidden realms of knowledge while in a deep trance state. During these profound sessions, he described vivid, startling visions of the afterlife, a mysterious dimension that defies conventional understanding. What did he see? What messages did he bring back? In this forbidden interview, we'll explore Cayce's revelations about what awaits us beyond the veil of death. Edgar Cayce's journey into the afterlife began with his remarkable ability to enter a state of deep trance, often referred to as a self-induced sleep or hypnotic state. In this altered consciousness, Cayce claimed to access knowledge far beyond his waking awareness. It was in this profound state that he described his first glimpse of what lies beyond death, a vision that would challenge the boundaries of conventional understanding and open a doorway into the mysteries of the soul's transition from the physical to the spiritual realm. During his sessions, Cayce would lay down, close his eyes, and enter a state that resembled sleep. His breathing slowed, his body relaxed, and his voice took on a calm, detached tone. Those who witnessed these sessions often described the atmosphere as surreal, almost reverent. It was during one of these sessions that Cayce first spoke about the moment of death and the soul's journey into the afterlife. He described death not as an abrupt end, but as a natural and graceful transition. According to Cayce, the soul, which is the true essence of a person, simply detaches from the physical body as it becomes lifeless. This detachment is not abrupt or violent. Instead, it is akin to shedding a worn-out garment, with the soul gently floating free from its earthly confines. One of the most intriguing aspects of Cayce's description was his emphasis on the soul's awareness during this transition. Contrary to many accounts that depict death as a sudden loss of consciousness, Cayce spoke of a heightened sense of clarity and perception. The soul, he claimed, remains fully aware of the surroundings and experiences a moment of profound understanding. It is as if the limitations of the human body dissolve, leaving the soul free to perceive reality without the constraints of physical senses. Colors become more vivid, sounds more harmonious, and emotions take on an almost tangible quality. Cayce recounted that in this state, the soul is often greeted by familiar presences, whether they are loved ones who have passed on, spiritual guides, or beings of light. These entities serve as comforting guides, helping the soul make sense of its new existence. There is a sense of acceptance and peace, as the soul realizes it has left behind the struggles of the physical world. This initial phase, according to Cayce, is crucial, as it sets the tone for the soul's continued journey into the afterlife. However, the nature of this transition is not the same for everyone. Cayce emphasized that the mindset and spiritual state at the time of death play a significant role in shaping the soul's initial experience. For those who have lived with kindness, compassion, and spiritual awareness, the transition is often smooth and filled with warmth. In contrast, souls burdened by guilt, anger, or fear may initially feel disoriented or even resistant to letting go of the physical world. This resistance can manifest as a clinging sensation, where the soul struggles to move forward, haunted by unresolved issues or attachments. Cayce explained that the key to a peaceful transition lies in acceptance. The more a person accepts the inevitability of death as part of life's journey, the smoother the passage becomes. He also noted that prayers and positive thoughts from the living can significantly aid the soul's transition, helping to ease the lingering attachments that may cause distress. This idea aligns with many spiritual traditions that advocate for prayer and rituals to help the departed find peace. One of the most astonishing claims made by Cayce was the notion that the soul retains its sense of identity even after leaving the body. It does not lose its memories or personality traits. Rather, it becomes more aware of its true nature. Freed from the illusions and material distractions of earthly life, the soul perceives itself as an eternal, evolving entity, part of a vast spiritual continuum. This realization can be both enlightening and daunting, as the soul comes to terms with the consequences of its earthly actions and choices. Cayce's accounts also suggested that some souls, particularly those who are deeply attached to their earthly existence, might not immediately realize they have passed on. In these cases, the soul might linger near familiar places or people, attempting to interact without understanding why it is being ignored. This state of confusion is not eternal, however. Spiritual guides eventually intervene, gently helping the soul recognize its new reality. This process of realization can be swift or gradual, depending on the individual's readiness to accept the truth. In some instances, Cayce spoke of souls who, after death, feel a sense of profound relief, as if a heavy burden has been lifted. The physical body, with all its ailments and struggles, is left behind, allowing the soul to feel lighter and more at peace. This sense of freedom is often accompanied by a review of the life just lived. Cayce described it as a panoramic vision where the soul sees its actions, choices, and the ripple effects they had on others. This life review is not a judgment imposed by an external force, but rather a self-assessment, guided by the soul's innate desire for growth and understanding. Cayce's depiction of this process offers a compassionate perspective on death. Instead of fear or despair, the soul is met with understanding and guidance, encouraged to reflect on its journey without condemnation. This initial phase serves as a bridge between the physical world and the deeper spiritual dimensions, allowing the soul to process its transition before moving on to more profound levels of existence. Through his trance sessions, Cayce conveyed that the experience of death is deeply personal and shaped by one's beliefs and emotional state. Yet, regardless of the individual differences, the underlying theme remains consistent. Death is not an end, but a transformation, a passage to a higher state of being where the soul continues its eternal journey. This view challenges traditional notions of death as a final, irreversible cessation, and instead frames it as a moment of awakening and continuation. In his trance sessions, Edgar Cayce often spoke of the afterlife as a dimension far removed from our earthly understanding of time and space. Once the soul crosses the threshold of death, it enters a realm that Cayce referred to as a plane of pure consciousness. Here, the physical laws that govern the material world no longer apply. Time does not move in a linear fashion, and space is not defined by physical distance. Instead, this realm is a vast, ethereal expanse where the soul is no longer bound by the limitations of a corporeal body. Cayce described this plane as a place of incredible beauty, filled with vibrant colors and luminous energies that seem to pulse with life. Souls exist here in a state of heightened awareness, perceiving their surroundings not through physical senses, but through a kind of inner knowing. They can move effortlessly, not by walking or flying, but by the power of thought. Wherever the mind focuses, the soul is instantly present, experiencing multiple locations and dimensions simultaneously. One of the most striking aspects of this realm, as Cayce described it, is the profound sense of connection between souls. The barriers that separate individuals in the physical world no longer exist in this higher plane. Communication occurs telepathically, with thoughts and emotions transmitted instantaneously. There is no need for words, as intentions and feelings are shared directly, creating an unparalleled sense of unity and understanding. In this state, the soul can perceive the true nature of other souls, not the masks or personas they wore in earthly life, but their essence, stripped of ego and illusion. Cayce often referred to this realm as the intermediate plane, a spiritual domain where souls gather before moving on to their next stage of existence. It is a place of reflection and orientation, where the soul adjusts to its new state of being. For some souls, this adjustment is seamless. They quickly adapt to the ethereal environment and begin to explore the new dimensions available to them. For others, particularly those who are deeply attached to material life or who died suddenly, the transition can be more disorienting. In these cases, spiritual guides or guardian entities assist in the acclimation process. Cayce described these guides as benevolent, compassionate beings who radiate warmth and love. They help newly arrived souls understand their current state, explaining that they are no longer bound to a physical body, and that the world they now inhabit is a reflection of their inner state. These guides provide comfort and reassurance, easing any lingering fears or confusion. Interestingly, Cayce's descriptions of this plane often included a landscape that mirrors the physical world, but in a more radiant and idealized form. Souls might encounter familiar scenes from their earthly life, such as homes, gardens, or places of natural beauty. However, these settings are not fixed or permanent. They are projections of the soul's own thoughts and desires, manifesting as tangible experiences in the spiritual plane. In this way, the realm becomes a kind of mental landscape, where thoughts shape reality instantaneously. For some souls, this experience is euphoric. Cayce spoke of souls who felt liberated and joyful, reveling in their newfound freedom from physical limitations. They experience a sense of boundless love, as though they are enveloped in a comforting light that emanates from every direction. Time ceases to exist in the conventional sense, and the soul can revisit past experiences, perceive potential future outcomes, and even interact with other souls from various points in time. However, not every soul experiences this realm in such a blissful manner. Cayce warned that the state of mind at the time of death greatly influences how the soul perceives the afterlife. Souls who are consumed by anger, fear, or guilt during their lifetime may find themselves in a more tumultuous version of the intermediate plane. Instead of radiant gardens or serene landscapes, they may encounter dark, chaotic scenes that reflect their inner turmoil. In these cases, the soul is not being punished, but is instead confronting the manifestations of its own unresolved emotions. The purpose of this phase is to help the soul gain insight into the consequences of its actions and thoughts. It is a period of intense self-reflection, where the soul is encouraged to face its shadow aspects and come to terms with unresolved conflicts. Spiritual guides remain close, offering guidance and support, but the soul must ultimately choose to release its negative attachments and move toward higher levels of consciousness. One particularly fascinating aspect of Cayce's descriptions involves the concept of group souls, or soul clusters. According to Cayce, souls that were closely connected in life, whether through family ties, friendships, or shared experiences, often reunite in the afterlife. These group souls serve as a support network, helping one another to process the life review and prepare for the next phase of spiritual evolution. In this way, the afterlife becomes a continuation of the learning and growth that began in the physical world, with souls assisting one another in a state of mutual compassion and understanding. Cayce also spoke of higher planes beyond the intermediate realm, places where souls who have completed their earthly lessons can dwell in a state of profound peace and spiritual enlightenment. These higher planes are characterized by an even greater sense of unity, where individual identities begin to merge with the collective consciousness. Souls in these higher realms operate at a frequency of pure love and wisdom, having transcended the limitations of ego and personal desire. Yet, despite the allure of these higher planes, Cayce emphasized that the intermediate realm is a necessary and valuable stage in the soul's journey. It is a place of integration, where the soul comes to terms with its earthly experiences, reflects on its actions, and prepares for future incarnations. The insights gained here are vital for the soul's continued growth, as they provide a deeper understanding of the purpose and meaning behind each life experience. Cayce's accounts also include instances where souls in the intermediate plane choose to act as guides or messengers for those still living. These souls, having gained clarity and perspective in the afterlife, may seek to convey messages of comfort, guidance, or warning to their loved ones on earth. This phenomenon, which Cayce referred to as spiritual communication, serves as a bridge between worlds, reminding the living that death is not the end, but a transition to a higher state of being. For some souls, the intermediate realm is a place of profound learning. Cayce described schools or temples of wisdom where advanced souls gather to study universal laws, spiritual principles, and the nature of existence itself. In these celestial academies, souls can access vast repositories of knowledge, including the Akashic records, a mystical archive that contains the complete history of every soul's journey. Here, the soul can review its past lives, assess its progress, and receive guidance on how to align more closely with its higher purpose. Through Cayce's vivid descriptions, the intermediate plane emerges as a realm of infinite potential, where souls can explore, learn, and evolve without the constraints of time and space. It is a place where the soul can finally rest, reflect, and reconnect with its true essence, free from the distractions and illusions of earthly life. Yet, it is also a place of choice, where the soul must decide whether to continue its spiritual journey in higher realms or return to the physical world for further lessons and experiences. Cayce's portrayal of this ethereal dimension challenges conventional beliefs about the afterlife, offering a vision that is both profoundly comforting and deeply transformative. Rather than a place of eternal rest, the intermediate plane is a dynamic, evolving realm where souls continue to grow, learn, and prepare for the next chapter in their eternal journey. According to Edgar Cayce, the afterlife is not just a nebulous void of unstructured existence. It is a realm of profound organization, one in which spiritual knowledge and cosmic records are meticulously maintained. One of the most compelling aspects of Cayce's descriptions of the afterlife involves the existence of a vast repository known as the Hall of Records. This ethereal library is said to contain the complete history of every soul, documenting not only past lives but also present circumstances and potential future incarnations. Cayce referred to this cosmic archive as the Akashic Records, a mystical database that transcends time and space. The concept of the Akashic Records is not unique to Cayce. It has roots in ancient Hindu and Buddhist teachings, where it is described as a non-physical plane of existence, in which every action, thought, and emotion is energetically imprinted. Cayce's accounts, however, provided an unprecedented level of detail. During his trance sessions, he claimed to access these records and deliver information that could guide individuals in resolving karmic debts, understanding life patterns, and uncovering hidden talents or challenges. In his descriptions, the Hall of Records is depicted as a grand, luminous structure, resembling a vast library of infinite dimensions. It is not confined to any specific location, but exists on a higher plane of reality, accessible only to those who are spiritually attuned. Cayce described it as a place of indescribable beauty, where the atmosphere radiates with a soft, golden light that emanates a feeling of profound peace and reverence. The architecture is said to be majestic, with towering columns, endless corridors, and chambers filled with glowing books or scrolls. Each soul has its own volume or series of volumes, chronicling every moment of every lifetime, from the most mundane occurrences to the most transformative spiritual experiences. When Cayce accessed these records, he did so through a process of deep trance, during which he claimed to be guided by higher spiritual entities. These entities acted as intermediaries, helping him navigate the vast and complex nature of the records. Cayce referred to these guides as librarians or keepers, spiritual beings whose sole purpose was to safeguard the Akashic records and assist in retrieving the information pertinent to the soul in question. They were not judgmental or punitive, but compassionate and wise, understanding the intricacies of human experience and the complexities of spiritual evolution. Cayce's readings often revealed strikingly specific details about the lives of those seeking guidance. He would speak of past incarnations with remarkable clarity, describing the individual's actions, motivations, relationships, and the karmic consequences of those actions. For example, he might reveal that a person suffering from chronic illness in their present life had been a cruel or oppressive ruler in a past life, and that the current affliction was a karmic balancing of that misuse of power. Similarly, he might describe how two souls currently experiencing conflict were once adversaries in a previous life, and that they had agreed to reincarnate together to resolve unresolved issues and find spiritual reconciliation. One of the most compelling aspects of Cayce's exploration of the Hall of Records is the concept of soul contracts. According to Cayce, each soul creates a blueprint before entering a new incarnation. This blueprint outlines the primary lessons, challenges, and spiritual objectives that the soul intends to address in that lifetime. These contracts are recorded in the Akashic records, and they serve as a guiding framework for the soul's earthly journey. However, they are not rigidly fixed. Free will remains a fundamental aspect of the soul's experience, allowing individuals to make choices that can alter or redirect the course of their lives. Cayce emphasized that accessing the Hall of Records was not merely a matter of satisfying curiosity about past lives. It was a profoundly transformative process that offered the opportunity for deep healing and spiritual growth. By reviewing one's past actions and understanding the karmic implications of those actions, an individual could gain valuable insights into present life challenges. For instance, a person struggling with recurring patterns of betrayal might discover that they had been unfaithful or deceitful in a previous life, and that they were now experiencing the consequences of those actions as part of their soul's evolutionary journey. The Hall of Records also provided insights into the future. Cayce explained that while the records contained potential outcomes based on the soul's current trajectory, these outcomes were not immutable. The future, he asserted, was a fluid and dynamic construct, shaped by the choices and intentions of the present moment. Thus, while the records could reveal likely scenarios, they also emphasized the power of free will in altering those scenarios. In this sense, the Hall of Records was not a place of predetermined fate, but a vast repository of potential futures, each one contingent upon the soul's ongoing decisions and spiritual growth. Cayce also described how certain souls, particularly those who had attained higher spiritual awareness, could access the Hall of Records consciously during sleep, meditation, or deep spiritual practice. These souls could revisit past lives to gain wisdom, seek guidance from spiritual masters, or review their soul contracts to better understand their life's purpose. In some cases, souls might even receive glimpses of future incarnations, allowing them to prepare for upcoming challenges or lessons. Interestingly, Cayce's descriptions align with modern accounts of near-death experiences and past life regression therapy, in which individuals report entering a library-like space filled with books, scrolls, or holographic images that contain the complete history of their soul's journey. These accounts often emphasize the compassionate and non-judgmental nature of the experience, as if the records exist not to condemn, but to enlighten and empower the soul to evolve beyond its current limitations. The Hall of Records, as Cayce described it, is not a place of punishment or retribution, but a vast educational center where souls are given the opportunity to learn from their experiences and make more spiritually aligned choices in future lifetimes. This perspective challenges the traditional view of the afterlife as a place of reward or punishment, and instead presents it as a continuation of the soul's eternal journey toward higher consciousness. Cayce also suggested that the records are not only accessible to the deceased, but also to those who are still living. Through dreams, meditation, or spiritual practices, individuals could receive glimpses of their past lives or future possibilities. These glimpses might come in the form of symbolic imagery, vivid dreams, or sudden flashes of insight that feel both familiar and otherworldly. Such experiences, Cayce explained, were opportunities for the soul to reconnect with its higher self and realign with its spiritual purpose. In the Hall of Records, The concept of time is fluid and non-linear. The soul can view past, present, and future simultaneously, gaining a broader perspective on the patterns and lessons that span multiple lifetimes. This panoramic view allows the soul to see how its actions ripple through time, influencing not only its own destiny, but also the destinies of others. In this way, the Hall of Records becomes a place of profound spiritual accountability, where the soul is gently but firmly reminded that every thought, word, and deed carries consequences that reverberate across lifetimes. Ultimately, Cayce's portrayal of the Hall of Records serves as a reminder that the afterlife is not a static or passive state, but a dynamic realm of learning, growth, and self-discovery. It is a place where souls are encouraged to reflect on their journey, acknowledge their mistakes, and embrace the lessons necessary for their continued evolution. In this sacred library, the soul is given the opportunity to rewrite its narrative, to correct past misdeeds, and to set a new course towards spiritual enlightenment. In the afterlife, Cayce described the concept of spiritual progress as being an ongoing and dynamic process rather than a destination. One of the most profound aspects of his teachings was the idea of soul growth, the notion that each soul has a purpose and a plan that unfolds over a series of lifetimes. This process is not only about learning moral lessons or righting past wrongs, but also about refining the soul's understanding of love, empathy, and interconnectedness. Cayce believed that after death, the soul is welcomed into a spiritual realm where it continues to evolve through its experiences. The nature of this experience varies depending on the individual's spiritual development and the choices they made during their life on Earth. Some souls, Cayce said, enter a state of restful contemplation, where they review their lives and rest from the stresses of the material world. For those who had lived lives of intense suffering or struggle, this resting period serves as a time of recuperation and healing, allowing the soul to recalibrate and prepare for its next phase of development. Others, however, may begin to engage in more active processes of learning and growth in the afterlife. These souls continue to refine their spiritual awareness through a form of education, under the guidance of higher beings and advanced spiritual teachers. Cayce referred to these beings as angels, or spiritual guides, and they play a central role in helping the soul process the lessons it needs to learn. Souls may undergo spiritual tasks or participate in studies that help them deepen their understanding of divine principles and universal truths. These principles include concepts such as the interconnectedness of all life, the importance of service to others, and the ability to transcend ego-based desires. According to Cayce, the process of soul growth does not end with death, but is a continuous journey. As souls progress through these stages, they gain greater access to higher levels of consciousness, eventually reaching a point where they are able to join in unity with the divine source, which Cayce referred to as the source of all life. In this state of divine unity, the soul merges with the universal spirit and attains a level of consciousness that transcends individual identity. This is not an annihilation of the self, but a reunification with the divine essence that underlies all creation. For those souls who had experienced severe challenges or made negative choices in their previous lives, Cayce believed that the afterlife offered opportunities for redemption and transformation. These souls would undergo processes of purification in order to release negative karmic imprints and heal their past. During these stages, they might be guided to confront difficult memories or unresolved issues, allowing them to understand the root causes of their suffering. Through this process, they could heal and reorient their consciousness, making the decision to move forward into greater spiritual enlightenment. One of the key aspects of spiritual progress, as emphasized by Cayce, was the role of reincarnation. This concept of the soul returning to the material world in new forms was central to Cayce's teachings. He suggested that the soul continually returns to Earth, time and time again, to face new challenges and fulfill the soul contract made before birth. Each incarnation is seen as an opportunity for the soul to evolve, refine its character, and work through unresolved issues from previous lifetimes. Cayce's philosophy of reincarnation is not merely a cycle of rebirth, but a series of purposeful, interconnected lifetimes. He described how souls may experience multiple lifetimes in different times, cultures, and roles, each offering unique lessons and opportunities for growth. In some cases, souls may return to resolve karma with specific individuals, such as a family member or friend, with whom they had significant past life connections. These relationships may continue into future lifetimes, creating a complex web of shared experiences that contribute to the soul's overall journey. In the afterlife, souls are not expected to simply forget about their earthly lives. Instead, they are encouraged to reflect on them with a view toward their spiritual evolution. This reflection often involves looking at the lessons learned during those lives and using them to inform the soul's decisions in future incarnations. The process is one of self-awareness and conscious growth, in which the soul becomes more attuned to its divine purpose and its place in the grand scheme of the universe. Through reincarnation, the soul can eventually come to a point of mastery where it is no longer bound by the cycles of karma or material concerns. At this stage, the soul is able to consciously direct its spiritual path, serving as a guide or teacher to other souls still in their early stages of development. In Cayce's view, the ultimate goal of the soul was to become an instrument of divine will, living in harmony with the divine flow of life and contributing to the collective spiritual progress of all beings. In Cayce's descriptions of the afterlife, there is a profound sense of continuity and purpose. The afterlife is not a realm of eternal rest or punishment, but a space for deep, transformative work. It is a place where the soul can engage in healing, learning, and spiritual growth. A place where each soul is given the opportunity to fulfill its divine potential, no matter how many lifetimes it takes. Souls are never truly lost or abandoned. They are always progressing, always evolving, and always returning to the source of all life. Finally, Cayce's teachings emphasize the importance of spiritual awakening while still in the physical body. He often encouraged individuals to awaken to their spiritual nature during their earthly lives in order to align themselves with the divine plan for their soul's journey. According to Cayce, by living in alignment with higher spiritual principles, individuals could not only ease their own path through the cycles of life and death, but also help elevate the collective consciousness of humanity. For those who are still living, Cayce's descriptions of the afterlife offer profound insights into the nature of life itself. They suggest that life is not a random, fleeting experience, but a purposeful journey of soul evolution. Each person, he believed, has the potential to become aware of their divine purpose and make choices that contribute to their own spiritual growth and the well-being of others. As we reflect on Edgar Cayce's profound and deeply spiritual teachings about the afterlife, it's important to remember that they remind us of the boundless potential within each soul. Whether we are at the beginning of our spiritual journey or nearing the end of a long cycle of learning, there is always room for growth, healing, and deeper understanding. The afterlife is not a mysterious unknown, but a place of continual expansion, a space where the soul evolves, integrates, and returns to its divine source. In conclusion, Edgar Cayce's exploration of the afterlife offers us a glimpse into a much larger spiritual tapestry, one in which the soul is always learning, growing, and returning to wholeness. The afterlife, in Cayce's view, is not an end point, but a continuation of the soul's journey. His teachings invite us to embrace the infinite possibilities that lie ahead, knowing that every step along the way, whether in this life or the next, is part of a greater spiritual adventure. As we face the challenges of our own lives, we are reminded that we are never alone on this journey, and that the ultimate goal of our existence is to return to the loving embrace of the source of all life.